Welcome to another episode of the Three Guys podcast. We have a really special show today with a focus of being positive, something sometimes is not easy to do. And we have a returning co-host per her contract that she signed with us for 6 figures, 7 figures.
Wow.
She's a tough negotiator, live from Los Angeles, California. Miss Jen Pasica.
Hello. I have not seen any of that cash, but I assume you're good for it.
It's on its way, JP.
It's in the mail.
Just keep checking the mailbox. Okay. We pay in Three Guys cash.
Fair enough. I accept.
So, with this, first of all, I don't think I've done an intro in about 2 years because that's kind of Derek's thing. He does his intro. He does them so well. Brett does them. I always kind of trip up, but so far so good. So, but before we get started, just a couple of things. First, JP, congratulations on your new job, global sales director.
Yes, thank you.
Account director.
Close enough. Yeah, close enough. Director of
See,
Group Sales Association, Hilton Worldwide.
tomato, whatever it is.
Yes.
But all kidding aside, massive congratulations. That's in Hilton. It's a hard process. Well, probably I guess all chains, I'm sure, but Hilton in particular, there's several layers, and not your job, but someone else, not your position, but another position that was open. A person I know was interviewing for it, and from outside of the company, and she was sharing how hard it was. I shouldn't have said the company name. My company.
Edit that out.
Not to edit that out, but
a hospitality company.
So AS. So it'll be fun trying to fix that out of here. But anyway, Jen, a huge congratulations. We're all here at the Three Guys. I think almost every one of our guests since they've been with us have gotten a promotion and moved on to another job. I think almost everyone, if you go through the line, not everyone, but most. But the Three Guys, no, we're all doing good.
Y'all are just content where you are. No need.
And we're going to talk about that. I think that's a good topic to talk about. So before we go any further, because our guest is with us, I have the honor of introducing someone I've known for, a long time, probably, I want to age myself, maybe 15, 16 years, sort of been in our industry, and that is Kelly Bishop. And Kelly is someone and we were just talking about what we do in our hospitality industry. She's been in quite some time, but she's recently started her own company called Wellevate Experiences and PickPositive, and she is the Chief Positivity Officer, and she is the coach of Inspired Wellness and Leadership. So I think we have a really exciting episode coming up here, and hopefully at a time that's really needed, really put a smile on people's faces and allow people to maybe build some personal strategies within whatever organization they are, and maybe get some best practices. So without further ado, Kelly, thank you for joining the Three Guys podcast.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jen. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here tonight. And you saying that we've known each other for 15 years does not only age yourself, but it also ages me. So we're in a pack that we've grown up in the industry together. It's all right to say that. We're proud of who we are and our age, right? And our experiences.
I think I started when I was 5 or 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
So Kelly, we talked a little about this. We like to have some fun before we kind of get going, and some pick ones, or maybe sharing some fun stories from some of your background. So one of the things that Jen and I talked about in December on an episode that we did, it was sort of a chance for me to share with myself. We talked about the green screen experience, and you and I were at an event late last year where this came up, where there's a green screen behind you, and it's something that you've accomplished. So we normally don't give away some of these pick ones. We did it because I think it's kind of you can kind of share a little bit what that would be for you. So tell our listeners, what would your green screen be?
So I love this question. I think this is such a cool question, such a great icebreaker too. I actually came up with two, and they're very different. One of them, my green screen, would be me as a TED Talk speaker. Like that, I know I'm going to get there. And so it's like fast forwarding that and seeing that in my head as being up on that big stage with the TED behind me and knowing that I am one of those incredible speakers. So that would be my first green screen, is accomplishing that goal that I've set for myself right now. My other one would be knowing that I've overcome my fear, and that would be in a Shark Tank with sharks all around me.
Same.
I have a huge fear of
yes.
sharks. And I feel that if I could go do a shark dive, my fear would be gone. Just need to go do a shark dive and have that photo, and it'll be all good.
Would you be in the cage though? You'd want to be in the cage?
In the cage. Yes,
yeah.
For sure. You have that same fear?
I do. I have an extensive fear of sharks, and I don't know where it came from. There's no rational reason behind it. It wasn't the movie Jaws. I spent a lot of time in the ocean as a kid. I don't know. They scare me.
All I can think about is the episode we did with a local place up here in Maine, where they're a part of that's into like animal rescue and that kind of stuff. And one of their action items is they tag sharks. And we volunteered Derek to be a part of that and actually go into the ocean and personally tag the shark. So
and has he done it?
I don't know if he not yet.
Now I need to meet Derek. I need to hear about the story. For sure.
Yeah. So, they go around, and we were just, we were trying to think of how can Derek become more active with this organization that does this great thing of sea mammals. That's what their care is sea animals specifically. Anyway, one of their things is they tag sharks. And I said, Derek, there you go. That's your calling. So anyway, that's really good, Kelly. I like that. I like that, and you look at TED Talks, and it's so big now. I think even with our company, I won't say our company's name again. I think now they're starting to really allow us to have more access to some of these talks. I think obviously whether it's YouTube or whatever, but I like that. I think getting these messages out there and having them more available is awesome. So
well, that's just the whole thing about it, because I feel like once I've hit that stage, that I'm truly touching people, reaching out to people, like people are understanding my message of how to pick positive, and they're making a change for themselves and changing that mindset. So then I'll feel like I've really touched a lot of people and helped a lot of people.
And I like that you use pick positive, because it sounds, it's very catchy. It sounds so simple. It gets the message across, and it's memorable. So I think that you could do all of those things in a TED Talk, and people would remember the pick positive.
Yes, hopefully, right? Because I pick positive. Do you pick positive? Do you remember that, Brian, from FICP?
Yes. Yeah. And it's funny because I think that meeting it's in November. It was in November. And for me personally, I have 6 birthdays around that time. We were getting ready to go on a vacation. We had holidays. And it's sometimes it's okay to look at the glasses being half full once in a while, which is, something we're going to talk about here. It's okay. It's all right to be happy. I think that's sometimes
absolutely.
What's wrong with being happy? Okay. So I want to go. So something you two ladies have in common is running. Mm-hmm. Now it's something else that the 3 guys really don't do a lot. We don't do a lot of running. So, Kelly, you've raced in various locations. JP, I know you have too. But Kelly, if you could go to one international location and do a marathon, and I don't think you have, but if you did, let's pick any spot internationally. Where's that one place you would love to go and do a marathon?
Ooh, that's a great question. Over recently, it was over the winter, I was following this woman who did is it like 5 marathons in 5 days? It's absolutely amazing. Like Antarctica to, all those marathons that follow each other day by day. And I just was so inspired by her. But I think the one I would do is, I don't know, I'd pick a destination where I haven't been, but London, I have been to London, and it just seems like it would be a really fun marathon because it wouldn't be like a goal setting marathon. It would be like a finish and have fun and see how many kids I can high five through the race. Right. And that's the type of experience I think of when I think of the London Marathon. So that would definitely be probably tops on my list for international. But if someone came to me and said, do you want to run this race in this country? I'd be excited to do it and go check it out.
I'll tell you, I've not traveled internationally as much as many of my colleagues and friends. It's probably one of the things I haven't done. And you see these destinations like Iceland and Norway and some of these beautiful. I mean, we have obviously these beautiful areas and cities in this country, obviously, but to go to some of these European countries and see some of that stuff, that's high on my list. We're due to do a travel experience episode. That's on our list of things that we want to do, not like the nicest hotel or anything like that, just places that you can go and sort of immerse yourself into the local culture.
Overall experience.
I had a friend of ours, a friend of the three guys. He did this thing where he got dropped off from a helicopter into Alaska. And
that's cool.
Yeah, stuff like that. And so we're actually in the plans for it. So JP, I want to ask you the same question. So you could run anywhere in the world. Where would you go?
I had this written down on my goals actually, and also London, but I think top of my list is Amsterdam. There's one in Amsterdam every October, and I have yet to be. It's on one of the top of my travel lists. So like you were saying, if you can see an area and knock out a marathon, great. But yeah, I think that would be a fun one.
That is one of my favorite things to do whenever I go to a city, like traveling there. I think it's the best way to shake off the jet lag and see the area. So, first, of course, I go speak with the hotel, make sure that it's safe. Can you help me with a map? Can you help me find an area? Here's the time. I want to see the sights. I want to, soak it in and go for a run. I think that is the best way to see a city when you land somewhere and really explore it. I had a experience when I went to Paris that I showed up and I was at Georges V and checking in. The director of security was tapping me on the back and he's like, "Excuse me, Mrs. Bishop, I would like to take you for a run in the morning. We see that you're an avid runner, that you love to run." So I met him in the morning and he took me all over Paris, like early in the morning for 6 miles. It was unforgettable. In the end was like the best part, right? So I'm like hot, sweaty. I was like trying to keep up with him the whole time. But we go to a little cafe and we have a shot of espresso and a chocolate croissant. And I was very confused by the experience. He's like, "No, this is the experience of what we do here in Paris. Like this is part of immersing in the culture." And I was like, 1,000% very true. So I will never forget that experience on several different levels of being a part of that culture, getting to see that city, but having someone understand who I am or who I was as a meeting planner before I arrived for that site inspection to really try to help take care of me and keep up with my own self-care. That was amazing. So, anybody that can do that and think ahead for others and make an unforgettable special experience is a special person as well.
I agreed 1,000,000%. And I want to get started. JP, do you have any fun pick ones or anything you want to ask from that perspective?
No, I have a lot of questions about what we're going to talk about. So yeah, go ahead.
No, let's get going.
Can I jump back to Jennifer for 1 second?
100%.
I have been to Amsterdam several times throughout, different seasons, and it is amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. So, there's so much that you can find there and do there, and a marathon would be incredible along the river, through all the different districts. This is very cool. So that's a great spot.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, I've looked at the route. I've looked at all the photos. It's just getting there. You just gotta bite the bullet and pay for the ticket. I can do it. It's pricey, but I just gotta bite the bullet and we'll chalk it up to a life experience.
There you go. Very important to do that.
JP, I'll FedEx your first payment from the 3 guys so you can help with the
Perfect.
down payment.
Yeah, if you can send my advance.
I'll go with her, Brian. I'll go with her.
Yeah,
we all will go.
You should all run with a buddy.
We'll take the whole team and we'll all go together. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah. So as we start off in this episode, which is obviously a focus on positivity, I want to share an experience I had over the weekend and going into a place of business. And it's not a long story, but I think it made me think a lot about what we're going to talk about tonight, in terms of, I think, what maybe at the end of the day makes companies more successful. So I'm sure that's the goal of what you're trying to do when you work with these organizations, is how do you make them better. So anyway, so I walk into just a local small little grocery store to pick up like a soda or something. And there was nobody in there. It wasn't really that late, but I walk in and I could just tell the second I walked in, the guy behind the counter did not want to be there. Like you could just tell his facial expression. He wasn't talking to me, like he was talking down or whatever. And I asked him a question about like what register to use. And in a very condescending, sarcastic way, he's like, well, you can either use the register or the lottery machine, because that's the only 2 things we have here. And JP knows I'm as sarcastic as anyone, because I think you need to have sometimes that in your personality to allow people to want to be around you. Sometimes it's okay to be funny, but he was doing it in a very mean way. And all I was thinking about is this gentleman doesn't really enjoy his job, or he might have actually been the owner of the place. It was that small place. And I was thinking, if that's how you treat someone like me, who you have no idea who I am, how do you treat people that come in, like the people that have to come and use your store because they live around here? My point is that I think it's so important to your first reception to people should be you're friendly, and you want people to come to where you work and work with and work for you. And again, it was just a small little inconsequential experience that I had, but it did stick in my mind to what we all do and the level of events that we're all a part of and the amount of people that we work with. And we work in hotels that employ thousands of people, so this one individual just kind of stuck in my mind throughout the weekend as I was thinking about this episode. So Kelly, where I want to start with that is how quickly, for you personally, when you go into a company, do you know right away there's some level of toxicity within the culture, good or bad? Like how quickly are you able to gauge from meeting people that work there what that looks like for new people that are a part of a company or an organization?
Well, I think it even starts before I arrive on site at a company, right? It's, what is the communication like? Are they getting back to me when they say they're going to get back to me and let me know decisions or have a conversation with me? And, what's their tone as well when I am speaking with them? Are they excited to bring me in to help their employees, right? And are they kind of cheering on their employees and celebrating them? Or is it, very negative talk, right? So right there before I even walk in the door, I kind of understand what I'm walking into. But then, it's just like what you said, this experience that you had, like right away, he was kind of snippy or just didn't make you feel welcome. Mm-hmm. So, I can tell by the second I walk in or the second it's that 5-second rule, right? People make a decision in 5 seconds. Someone have a smile on their face. Are they not looking up at you? Are they bored? Are they yawning? Are they, on their phone in front of you while you're trying to speak to them? So I think right away you can tell what's that culture. And especially if people are doing that without even me saying hello yet, you know that there's something wrong, because that culture works up and down and sideways and in diagonal too. It's like, everybody wants to be around that positive culture. So if you can be that positive person, that kind of that ray of sunshine that comes into the room that is happy and joyful, everyone's going to want to be around you, and that is contagious. And that's going to bring everything up. It's going to make everybody happy, excited. They're going to be more motivated and inspired to do their work. And they're going to work harder because they're happy at work, because that culture is good. But if you have someone who is negative and is always complaining and always, wants to drag on a story and can't let go of it, they're very toxic, and people don't know how to get away from those people. That's the challenge. That's the situation. And, I try to teach people, like, you can be courageous to walk away and say, you know what, I've heard the story enough today. I'm going to go about and do my work, because you're kind of bringing me down, and this doesn't feel good. I want to go a different direction. I'm going to go find the people, right? You surround yourself with others that make you feel good. And so leave behind the people that don't make you feel good. Like, there's no reason to keep listening to them. Like, I have the story about my son playing baseball, and, I watch him play. He's out in center field, and the ball goes under his legs, right? He misses the catch, and you just see, like, shoulders slump down. And then as you kind of, like, look around the field, because he can't shake it off, everybody's kind of slumped down, and then they can't make a play. Right? It's really sad. Whereas if he missed the ball, took like 5 seconds to be like, oh, why did I do that? But all right, I gotta shake it off, be ready for the next play. You look around, his teammates are all like, yeah, let's go. We got this. And they're not going to remember that mistake, because everybody's going to have a mistake, but it's what you do with it. It's like in the office, if you're having a bad day, if something's going wrong, like, take a dumpster walk, go run the stairs, tell one person, but don't, like, spread that bad, those bad vibes all over everyone, taking down everyone's day. And if there's someone that you really need to talk to, like, talk to that person, find out, get a coach, get help on how to have that conversation with the person you need to. But, you can't just tell 50 other people, but not tell the person that's really impacted you. So that's where some of my coaching comes in, of what I'm trying to do with organizations. It's like creating that positive culture by understanding how to figure out what's going on and sharing it with the right person to work together to kind of change that vibe. And how do we be more positive? All right, here's the situation. Well, let's turn it around so that we can all feel better and feel renewed and inspired and work together as a team and move forward.
So if you were to coach a leader of a team, and maybe not necessarily an entire company, but a leader of a company who has a few quote unquote toxic or just overall negative people in their organization, how would you coach that leader to work with that person to help change their attitude in the office, which would then kind of full circle the entire team to be a more positive environment?
Well, I think it definitely does make a difference, because if you have a leader who has, a team or people around them, and one person is very negative, but it doesn't get addressed, or there's not that coaching, that concern there for that person, the rest of the team sees that as, well, so if I can act like that and still get a bonus, still get an increase, still have my job, even, like, that's not fair, right? So I think it is important to coach a leader, and, kind of the way you do it is coaching them it's really getting to know a person too. You need to get to know someone. I used to do an exercise called below the waterline, where we would take volunteers on our team who would really share things about them that nobody in the office would know about unless you really knew that person, because it's so important to understand maybe, like, their culture, where they came from, or, like, life experiences they've had that make them kind of tick the way that they do now. And I think if people could be more open to share, but also if people could be more open to caring and listening to what people are saying and wanting to find out more about people, then I think that is also going to help change that culture. So I think a leader really needs to understand their team members. And if there is a toxic person, it's understanding what is going on, right? Maybe trying to figure out like that root cause. It could be something totally unwork related, which I get it. Like there's personal grounds and boundaries, but it's having that conversation then about how that is impacting the rest of the team. And maybe it's helping that person get help that they need outside of the office to help with that situation. And if it's something a situation that's internal, it's finding out like, well, let's talk about this, like not in a defensive way, just let's talk about this, but keeping it to the facts and not opinions, because that's when it can kind of go askew too and go very negative, and start to bring people down and feel toxic.
Yeah, there's a great saying that misery loves company. You know, and when that happens, the negativity, I think people tend to gather around it, and it usually becomes worse than what it should be. And you were saying earlier about something happens, you kind of move on from it. You don't let you bring it down. You don't do the whole telephone thing and emails, and all of a sudden your whole day's been hijacked. And it's funny, JP, I think about our company and the Thrive Initiative. And Kelly, I don't know if you've heard about Hilton's Thrive Initiative, but
no, tell me about it.
So basically, what's the author's name? Ariana, JP, do you know
Huffington?
Ariana, Ariana Huffington. She created this Thrive Initiative, and basically it's a lot of what you talk about, Kelly. It's about people when they feel at their best are going to work at their best and be at their best and be at their most efficient. So long story short on what the Hilton Thrive Initiative is, and somebody from Hilton like, that's not what it is. But how I interpret it is they want you to be in the right space emotionally. They want you to be in the right space physically. They want you to be in the right space mentally, because if I am, then I'm going to do my job better and I'm going to be happy doing my job. And it's almost everything you talked about, just taking a minute to go for a walk. What I used to do, and especially at the height of the pandemic, is I would, no matter what was going on, I would exercise every morning for an hour, at least 4 days a week. And I would work outside. So those two things I knew I needed to do to work at what by far one of the most difficult times of our industry. I mean, there's no way I would be able to do it. And one thing that's important, JP, and I want you to share from what your takeaway is from it. Actually, I just lost my train of thought. my takeaway, I never feel bad about putting my family first or putting my well-being first before having to respond to an email. That's how I take Thrive, is they want that stuff to be addressed before a quote unquote work responsibility. That's how I take it. In my current team, we had Mario on a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you heard Mario's episode. He believes in it. My entire team, leadership team that I've worked for, even going back to San Diego. So every company says they have something out there, but they really push it hard, and they really want you to buy into it. So JP, what's your takeaway from that?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. It's essentially you have to take care of you before you can take care of everybody else. Be that in your personal space with your family or your work life. If you are not okay and you're not taking the time to make sure that you are well, be that mentally or physically, emotionally, all of it, then you can't be your best self for everything else. And so it's really important to the company. There's a whole app on it. It's really important to the company that if you need time to step away, you step away, like no questions asked. If you need to take a day, you take a day. Like I think that was one of the benefits. And Thrive was out before the pandemic, but I think the pandemic enlightened a lot of people worldwide as to their priorities, and taking care of oneself and family certainly was pushed into the forefront. And I don't think that was a bad thing. And I'm glad to see, that it's continuing on. I hope it does continue on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, kudos to Hilton for that. That's amazing. And it's so important, right? It's that self-care, take care of yourself first. what they say in the airplanes, right? Put your oxygen mask on first before you help someone else.
Exactly.
But it's so true, right? And that's where if you can create your own morning self-care habits, whether, getting enough sleep, drinking, like I have a massive glass of water next to my bed every morning that before I get out of bed, I make myself drink it. Not looking at your phone, not looking at any devices, like doing what you need to do for you, going for a walk, going outside, going for a run, whatever it is fitness wise that makes you feel good, because we really need 20 minutes a day, which is not much, but not many people make that effort to do that. And then it gets into your nutrition for the day, right? And it's everything in moderation. It's so important to do. And that's where I'm trying to tie it into travel, because people traveling, they're not keeping to their self-care. They're not holding to it. And it's trying to help people figure out, all right, I can do this when I'm traveling. I can plan out my travel just like I plan out all my meetings. What am I going to do for my self-care? Because that's where people don't do it. And then, if people did plan out their self-care, they would be more engaged in their meetings when they're traveling, their networking, and they would leave feeling revived and inspired. And they'd be, when they get home, they'd be ready to jump into the weekend with their family for all the sports, because our kids get to play sports, and we as parents get to go watch our kids and cheer them on. So I think it's so important though to figure out that self-care piece, that you're healthy, heart, body, soul, mind, that you can be there for others.
So before we dive a little bit deeper into sort of your action plan with some of these companies, my question for you, it's pandemic related, and I mentioned in a previous episode, we try to go out of our way to like not talk about COVID and the pandemic, but I feel like sometimes it sort of has something to do with what we're talking about. So here, with this episode on how trying to really get your hands around toxicity in cultures. Do you think that people, as they were working remotely, mostly, do you think people forgot how to interact with colleagues in person because of how long everybody was remote? Do you think that had something to do with how these companies work together now, back in that they're in their offices, or maybe not? I mean, what is your thoughts on that piece?
So my thoughts is that it's all about, and it wasn't necessarily about the leaders. I think it was about the team members and the relationships that you had with people before everyone was at home, right? Like, what did you do to try to rally your people together, your team, your work friends, right? Because just like, you'd see, like, I'm sure guys did this too. You'd have like Zooms with your guy friends, right? With like beers, and you do that with girls. But I think a lot of teams did that as well, or at least work friends. Maybe it wasn't a direct team member, but I know that we would do that with different hoteliers, like try to get them on and like, how are you doing? What's going on? Like, how's your, what are you doing during COVID? And just to try to keep that relationship going, because I think that relationships are the most important thing. Like, look at us, Brian, right? 15 years of knowing each other. So that was like right when I left the hotel industry and went into being a corporate event planner, that we became friends and met each other. And I think that, and here I am now, because, right, I saw you again in November, and it's like, relationships are everything, and they really matter. And I think that during COVID, people that tried to keep in touch in one way or another, maybe it was like writing notes to each other, right? Because I think that art of writing gratitude and writing personal handwritten notes is so special. So that's one thing that I tried to do during COVID, was send people personal notes, the handwritten notes, but just trying to like see faces. And I think that's a challenge now, because people are back in traveling, but some people are still at home, and so people are all over the place. So it's how do you find that connection now that teams are split back up and kind of choppy all over the place? So hopefully, people are finding it by doing special things with each other, and it doesn't cost money to do things. It's a simple phone call, right? A text, an email. I'm thinking of you. I saw this, I heard this song, and it made me remember this time we were doing whatever it was, right? So different things like that. I feel like during COVID, for me, I had my son wanted to share my office. So we had music class every week. And that was like an entertaining point for my team, is that I would like videotape him playing his little, like the pickle or something. I don't know. Does that answer your question? Kind of like how do people stay connected? Was that the question?
I think I think you hit the nail on the head. I used to send JP smile emojis and memes to. That was how we that's how we kept our connect, because she's in LA and I'm in Boston. So, we never.
So it's cute.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we kept our friendship going. But
my team and I cheated a bit. We maybe had a few get-togethers, and everybody would bring their beach chair, and we'd sit outside in my yard. And it was kind of like whoever is comfortable to come, whoever wants to make to the drive to Boston. So we did that a couple of times, and it was just really nice. We're all just kind of like, we're open to taking that risk, and we just needed to see each other.
Yeah, there was a third remote person prior to COVID. There was a third remote person that Brian and I worked with. And during COVID, we made it a point, I don't know, every couple of weeks, we would do a Zoom call just to stay connected and catch up on how things were going, because everybody was in such a different space. But it has been interesting to see how it's translated, because now there are a lot of teams that are hybrid or, partially remote. Some people remote, some people in an office or in the office 2 days a week. And it has been really interesting to see how that dynamic has funneled after COVID. And I was with, we're finally, to your point, we're finally now getting on the road a lot more, seeing customers a lot more, which is great. And I was with somebody last week and just kind of said, how are you? How are you doing? What do you miss? And she said, do you know what I haven't received in a long time? And I was like, what? She goes, a handwritten card. And I was like, oh. She goes, I see people every day. I get the text messages, but do you know what stands out right now is a handwritten card. And I was like, And just to know that would make her day. It's like, okay, mental note. But I think we don't do that often anymore as a society, because it is all like right now, which can be great. So note to selves, handwritten cards are still welcome for a lot of people, because they're not
to show you mine. Yeah.
Okay,
so I actually created my own little postcard. And so like they're stamped, but so it's like I send people gratitude notes every day. And I mail them, and it's just a simple, like, thanking someone for something specific, right? Because that's the key. You have to tell them what specifically they did that impacted you, that you're thanking them for, that you're grateful for. And it makes you feel good. So it puts you in a positive mindset. And then when they receive it, they feel really good. So it's like a win-win off of, a very simple exercise or gesture, morning routine, I guess you could say.
I think that's so
Brian,
good.
I was going to share something with you too about, you touched base on it, about putting your family first, right? That family comes first. And I kind of learned that the hard way. This was pre-COVID. Do I have time to share my story? I don't share the story too often, but I had a really big presentation. I was presenting to the CEO of the company and the president from one of the business units, and we were presenting our top incentive program. So the highest level award that you could receive at the company I was with. And the day that I was supposed to go in, so I was in the city getting ready for my meeting, and I received a call that my son couldn't stand up, like his legs, something was wrong with his legs. So he was taking a break. So I said, all right, just have him stay in the seat, because I was like, I have to go to this meeting. It's with the CEO. So meanwhile, I talked to my mom, I called the doctor. My mom goes and picks up my son and takes him to the doctor's. And I meet her at the doctor's, and the order from the doctor was that he had to go to the emergency room right away. And he ended up being in the hospital for 4 nights. And so that was a big turning piece for me, where if I had just told, the CEO was a wonderful man, wonderful human being. If I had just told him what was going on and why I couldn't be in that meeting, he would have, understood. We could have rescheduled. But at that time, that many years ago, I was so nervous and I was so excited about my career and where, this is one of my first presentations, having a seat at the table by myself, like what this could do for my career, right? And help me. And I learned the hard way that it is not worth it. Like family has to come first, no matter what anyone in your family has going on. Nothing work-wise is that important, that anything work-wise can wait. Family needs to be taken care of right away. So I learned the hard way. So take that from me first.
100%.
Yeah.
Do you take that story or parts of that story when you're talking to groups or customers or at a conference? Do you incorporate that in your talks and mention that as part of the wellness and making sure your family's taken care of and you're taking care of? Like, how do you structure when you go to speak to a client, knowing that everybody's a little bit different, but how do you incorporate the wellness piece into that?
I actually don't tell that story often. So I know I just told it to the world because it is a special story and it really changed me and impacted me. And, to Brian's point, when you brought that up, like, Hilton Thrive, like family first, hands down, no question. And it made me think of that memory. So I probably should share that story more and, craft the whole messaging around it. But typically, I share a lot of stories of my travel because I think that that's the best way to get my messages across. Some are positive, some were like definitely like bad learning experiences, but I found the positive out of that. And that's the important piece. It's like, some of them were like slam dunk positivity, right? Others were like, I had a choice to make. And, those decisions can sometimes be hard. And maybe even if it wasn't the right decision, I had to find that positive out of that situation and make the most of it because I made the decision. So I tell a lot of different stories kind of going down those directions of how people, simple things like when you go outside and you're standing on the cloudy side of the street, cross the street to the sunny side, be positive, like feel the warmth. It's like a warm hug and it's going to be so much warmer. And because you're standing in the sun, it's just going to make you feel good than standing in the cloudy, shady side of the street. So it's, that's a very simple way to look at it, but it's truly like finding the positive, finding the good in every situation that happens and making the most out of it. And that's setting that positive mindset that's going to, happiness will follow that positivity. You just have to be positive and, embrace the positive people around you. Kind of goes back to that message we talked about. Misery loves company. No, like find the positive people because positivity is also very contagious. So find those positive people.
Yeah. Go ahead, JP. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say about finding that sunny side of the street. I think it's probably easier for some people, but sometimes you could sell. Like for me, let me say it this way. Let me start over again. For me, I think what's great is when you can celebrate successes, and it doesn't matter how big or small, but to celebrate what that win is, I think is a great start to bringing positivity to yourself. And it could be
absolutely.
Yeah, it could be getting up in time so you don't miss a meeting. It could be,
it could be like a client emailed you back and responded to you.
Exactly.
Which celebrating, right?
No, and Kelly, you're spot on. I had an email. So we're trying to get for a Christmas episode, we're trying to get someone who's like the CEO of a toy company to come on and do like a fun Christmas or holiday theme, whatever. And I'm finally getting people responding, just connecting with me on LinkedIn. I'm like, you know what? And I'm celebrating that. Hey, that's a start. It's the whole SMART plan thing. You want to kind of get to that ultimate goal. So when you say those things, hey, just start really small. I think that's great advice because I think people feel like, well, I'm not successful until I'm making the big bonus check, or if you're in sales like me, or whatever. If you're a meeting planner or in your previous life, until I plan this 1,000-person meeting in bonus areas or whatever. Sometimes picking the small baby steps, to me is at the end of the day, I think is a great start. I really do.
it's the small wins, because they make you feel good, and if people will rally around you. If you're happy and celebrating it, then people will be, all right, that's awesome, man. They emailed you back. Yes. Like, that's a win for everybody. So it is. And then, that's a personal win and a work win, like all wrapped up into one. And, personal wins could even be like starting to wake up a little, like 5 minutes earlier each day, that then you have a 20-minute chunk of time where you can go do something for yourself. Right? Like extra fitness wise, to kind of get your body going for the day.
Yeah, and that's kind of where my head is at, because for me personally, that's when I started doing the exercising. It's all this. I think JP, you posted something today, and you're tracking yourself, and I love that, JP. I love when you post those kind of things, because to me that's what we're talking about. You want to celebrate something you accomplished. And it's okay to do that. You're not bragging. You're not trying to show off. You're saying, hey, this is something that I worked hard to accomplish, and it's okay to put that out there. So JP, stop doing that, because none of us can run that far.
I will say, Kelly, you were on my mind yesterday, because I've got 3 weeks at this kind of time recording, 3 weeks until my half marathon. And so yesterday was my last like real long run before the half marathon. And it was not great in my standards. And I got to the end. I had a real hard time. The air quality was really bad. My asthma kicked in. I just was not feeling it. So 12 miles was done. I was like you were saying about, the kids, my shoulders were slumped over. I was like, man, that sucks, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do what I want to do. And I was like, you know what? F it. I just ran 12 miles. Yes. I did it all the way. I was like, what would Kelly say? This is it. So thanks to you, I flipped it, and I was like, what was good about today? Okay. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming on, because it forced me to look at things differently.
Perfect. Thank you so much for saying that. And yes, that is perfect, right? It's like taking a second, right? And then be like, no, I'm going to turn around how I'm thinking about this. I just ran 12 miles. Like I've done my training for this race. Now you have your race in 3 weeks, and that's the celebration. Boom, right? You're going to have an awesome run.
Yeah. Like, so I want to take this back to conferences a little bit, if we can. And, when you're attending conferences and you're speaking at conferences, how do you guide folks or companies to incorporate wellness into the conferences, right? The people who are putting them together, the meeting planners, how do you guide them to say, listen, wellness is really important. It's here to stay. We need to practice what we preach. Here's how we're going to implement it. How do you strategically help them develop that? Sorry, that was a weird question.
No. I get what you're saying. So it's basically, I come in and wellify an event. So hired by the meeting planner to work in partnership with them, because, having that background, I understand what a meeting planner does and what they go through. In adding on the whole wellness piece, they don't have the capacity. It's like a whole nother person of everything that would need to be taken care of. So they stay focused on their task. I partner with them, and it's really understanding the company, the culture, the attendees, of kind of how much you can push that wellness in there, right? It's not about just adding yoga in the morning. There's so much more to it, right? It's creating, you could do anything from like having a wellness event MC, or it's having certain things happening, mindful experiences at the breaks, or, all right, everybody, we're going to take 10 minutes and do this exercise that's sitting on your table, right? It could be as simple as writing a gratitude card to someone, right? And I'll have a file in the back, bring them here, and I'll mail them out for you. As simple as that, but showing people, telling people about the art of writing gratitude. It could be around, having everybody pick out like a kindness shell. So one of the things that I do, this is part of my mindful experiences, is, take a kindness shell, pick one out, because shells are beautiful and all unique, just like people. So pick one out and keep it with you, and to remind yourself to be kind to you, and to allow yourself that time to take a reset, take a break, go to your room, whatever it might be. So I was actually in Nantucket last weekend, and I was telling this woman that I just met, but we were going on a girls trip together on the ferry. And I was telling her this story. We totally hit it off. We're like new BFFs. And I went for a run, and she went to go walk the beach, and she came back, and I don't know if you can see how big this is. She's like,
gosh.
Kelly, I just found the most beautiful shell for you. And I was like, this is huge, but it was so crazy that we were just talking about taking care of yourself and being kind. And this is what she came back with and said, I want you to have this kind of shell. But so it's creating these different like mindful moments, right? They could just be small moments, but where you're impacting people throughout a conference. It could be creating a give back, right? That's creating that moment, that mindfulness, that positivity feeling throughout someone by doing something special for someone else, local in that community. It could be around the gifting pieces, right? Like really looking at the gifts, are they kind of getting into that whole, like, are they locally sourced? What are they? How do they impact someone? How can they help kind of that wellness for our attendees? And then I think too, goes into, really, I created a whole program that could work before a conference called Get Up and Move. So on a registration site, people would sign up, and then 4 weeks out, I would kind of get it going every week. We'd be on an app, and every week I would have a different learning. It's really learning habits, creating habits of self-care. So when they're on site, they're ready to go and they have their habits down pat because it's been 4 weeks. So it could be topics like the importance of getting enough sleep and not hitting the snooze button, or it could be around hydration, around getting enough rest. It could be around the exercising, the food piece, healthy tips for travel. And so, every day too, I'm trying to get people chatting on this app and getting to know each other. Like, are you sparkling or still? Are you coffee or tea? Like simple things like that. But it's also people are checking in. I got my 20 minutes in. I didn't hit the snooze button today. And then when they get on site, they have a friend that they've met through this course of 4 weeks. Do you want to meet downstairs at 6 a.m. with me and go for a walk? And they do. And that's what's so amazing. It's just giving people the timing, right? Like being strategic around an agenda with a meeting planner. Don't start the meetings at 8. Give people that chance to follow through on their self-care habits that they have from home. Let them go have a workout, do their meditation, their stretching, whatever they do, and then be able to grab their breakfast and come to the meeting. And then same with the evening time too, don't have something end at 10 o'clock at night, but that's an hour away. Everyone's going to get back to their rooms or back to the hotel at 11, try to wind down. It's going to be like midnight. And then it starts this crazy cycle. And that's when people start then eating bad, going for the sweets, the carbs, and not taking care of themselves when they're on these conferences. So it's really trying to partner with a planner to set up all these different aspects, even looking at speakers, looking at all experiences and trying to tie in this mindfulness, wellness, self-care throughout for all their attendees. Because like I said earlier, it's going to really make people feel, they're going to feel motivated and they're going to be present in the moment of these conferences. And they're going to leave being able to take things back to their teams and implement them. It's going to create that positivity, and that performance level is going to increase. But because right now you see a lot of people returning after a conference and they're like, I'm so exhausted from the week. Like, I don't really remember much, but I had a good time. You know what I mean? It's like, we need to change that. And that's what I'm trying to set out to do. And I've created this whole self-care travel planner as well, with like tips and tricks, and, it talks about safety, and it talks about food and beverage. Like one of the things I try to do is, or I suggest, right? You look at your week and pick, maybe you're going to pick a chicken for Monday night. So when you go in, you have guests with you, you go in, you look, on your menu, you're looking for the chicken. So you order the chicken, put the menu away, and you're like right back in that conversation. You didn't spend 20 minutes looking at everything on the menu, but you also didn't pick something that's going to like take you down later in that evening. You're going to like feel good. Your body's going to digest it well. So there's little tips and tricks like that, but you're kind of plotting out your week with this planner that I've created. So it's a helpful tool. It really just gets people thinking about themselves and what their bodies kind of process and handle and take in that make them feel good, and things that they know, like, I probably shouldn't eat that, but it's my last night. So I'm going to go for the steak and I'm going to go for dessert and I'm going to have a couple more drinks. Right. So it just depends. But if you're mindful about it every night, thinking, by the time you get to that finish line, you're going to still feel fine. You're going to feel good. So that's
Kelly, Kelly, all I can think about is how busy you must be around IMEX. Because I think JP is going to be calling you in a couple of months to help put her IMEX strategy together.
Will you be my personal travel buddy during IMEX?
Yeah. Well, this will be my first IMEX year. So I'm very excited. I think that there is a lot of opportunity for strategy going into this for both attendees and all the partners that are there. There's a lot that can be offered around the wellness space that's unique, fun, different, thoughtful, and also quick, because I know people don't have a lot of time. But I think, like, for you guys, for the partners, you guys need to take care of yourself, right? It's not, you can't be standing on the floor for 12 hours or 15 hours, however long it is, and then go out all night long as well. So you guys really we need to figure out something for you guys, which I do have ideas of how to take care of you too while you're there, because that's important to keep you smiling and feeling good as well. Right? It's about everyone.
I think most folks who wear heels or used to wear heels have just succumbed that during IMEX, tennis shoes are okay. Cute tennis shoes are fine. Like, just be comfortable for all the standing. But I wanted to ask, as you're reaching out to these customers and helping them develop programs, are you finding that a lot of them are already incorporating things like this? Are you seeing like the numbers increase, or is it still more of like a newer space that people are still dabbling in, or trying to understand, not dabble?
I think it is still a newer space. I think that people want to incorporate wellness into their meetings. But I think a lot of people think like, oh, well, if I add yoga in the mornings, then I'm adding wellness into my meeting, and they'll get like one person showing up. And so then they think it failed, right? But that's not incorporating wellness into the meeting unless your event is for yogis or, people that know are going to want to do that. So I think it has to be really thoughtful. And that's where, that's what I'm trying to do, is be there as a partner for events to really help create, along with the culture of the attendees, the right moments, the right experiences that are self-care, that are mindful, and that incorporate wellness, where they can say, like, we brought wellness into our program and it worked really well and people really appreciated it. So that's the goal, right? I don't want people to bring in wellness, right? Just to check the box, like, we did it.
Right.
No,
right.
I want it to be impactful. Like, I want people to leave feeling like, wow, that was amazing. Like, what a different program that was. And that was like real. It really had me think, or really made me feel good. Or, I'm just leaving with a different mindset. Like, I feel positive. I feel happy. So it's having people leave with a different frame of mind, I would say, than, we checked the box, and not remember it too. Like, I want people to walk away like, that was really thoughtful. Like, I remembered how to write a note of gratitude, and I sent it to someone, and then that person's going to call them. I have to tell you too, on these gratitude, there's been a lot of people who don't know how to fill out a postcard, which is really interesting. I mean, it goes to show how we don't send letters and postcards to people.
I was going to think, I'm going to send both Derek and Brett one of those, but I'm not sure their addresses. I know their addresses. I know their addresses. Kelly, one of the things you said was the whole check the box thing. How often do you think these companies have you come in because they think it's more, hey, look, we're embracing positivity, but really when you get there and you start to push your message out, do you see sort of eyes open, and you see them understanding the importance of incorporating what you're talking about into their culture? And do they give you any after action reports? Hey, here's what happened. Here's some differences we're seeing, that kind of thing.
Well, I do my follow-ups and I check in like, hey, just checking. I know that we talked a lot about employees greeting each other, because that's what came out of some of the sessions, is that employees weren't greeting each other in the back of the house, and it was making people feel really bad. Like, I work here, and we can't say hi to each other. So it was a simple change, right? But it was a follow-up to say, hey, are people talking to each other, acknowledging each other? Are you hearing laughter in your back, the back of the house, the heart of the house? Like, what's happening? So, I try to send those kind of follow-up questions to people, even like checking in like a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later. Is it all forgotten? Are people really following and doing the things, creating better communication, right? Not just blowing up in an email, sending it off to the world, really being thoughtful of their email before they respond. Or, these are just examples of topics that I've worked on with some other groups. But I think it is important for follow-up. And I also, as far as your question goes around wellness, I feel that some people are ready to incorporate it. Other people want to incorporate it, but they're not ready to make changes in other things to have that financial piece there. So they're not getting that full backing on it. And that's where I think there needs to be that shift, that not everybody sees the importance of it yet. And I think those, the first few that are going to be out of the gate and see it are going to be the game changers. Like, they're the ones that are going to feel it, and their companies, they're going to make a change. They're going to see their growth skyrocket because they're truly embracing the global, this global movement of mindfulness and wellness within companies. And I think it's been great. I think that there's been some that I've worked with where, they reach out and they're not sure, they're on board, but they're not sure. Right. And so I'll do the experiences for them, and they're like, you know what, that was amazing. So much better. Like, I want to get, like, I see the value. Here you go, which has been amazing when people feel that and are able to experience it, and I can make them a believer. That's what it's about.
I want to, because it's in your bio, is DEI, and how you're trying to incorporate DEI into meetings. So I want you to talk a little bit about what your strategy with that, how you try to align DEI into sort of our meeting industry. Talk a little bit about that if you can.
I feel that DEI and wellness go hand in hand when you think about this at an event, because it really ties into how you're making people feel, right? How you feel and how others feel. And that's where I think that, that's a part of it that I can help kind of wellify as a partner to an event planner. But it's looking at things like, who's your speaker? Who's your audience? Then who's your speaker? Because, we can't have the same demographic as a speaker. Like, you don't want the same person speaking to the same group, or to the group of people, right? They need to be different, act different, look different, feel different, for people, I think, to really understand what they're saying and be like, oh wow, what a story, right? That's one. I think like I mentioned earlier, it's finding gifts that are special and local, and by small local business owners, but that they're special and their heart is in them, and that we're helping those people grow their business. And we're kind of celebrating them and recognizing them. I think it's also through the local food, just, everything local, trying to keep it back in the communities. But so you're teaching attendees about that as well. Local specialties.
Yeah, and sometimes it's almost, because I'm not going to say the name of the company, but who Jen and I work for, we just had a customer event, and some of the stuff that we talked about was very easy to do. It's not difficult.
Right.
To do some of these things, to check, I hate to say check some of these boxes, but to really make sure that you're leaving a positive impact on these places that you're going to. So before I have some non-Wellevate stuff I want to go with you, because we have a group of people from this organization that we're all a part of, that if I don't ask these questions, I'm probably going to get grief. So JP, go. I know you said you had a couple more things. Go ahead.
I think we pretty much touch on all of them, but you mentioned something that I wanted to circle back to just because it piqued my interest. So you were talking about some of your favorite tips for travel, like some of your favorite healthy tips. What are a couple of those?
So like snacks I like to travel with, or is that what you want to know?
Whatever you want to share. You just mentioned, that you share your favorite healthy tips for travel. I'm just curious what a couple of those might be.
Well, so I'm one of those people that I always make room for my running shoes, probably just like you are as well, JP, right? Running shoes has a space in your bag. So that's number one. And just making the time, it's making the time for yourself to go run that city, go explore. But I think it's also, healthy travel tips. It truly is. And like Brian said earlier in the call, like kind of dating ourselves, but now it's like, I can go to bed at 9:30 or 10 o'clock when I'm at an event. It's okay. I'm not going to miss anything after 10 o'clock at night. Right. And I think it's letting people understand that it's okay. You don't have to you don't need that extra glass. But just because you're going to feel better. So I think that's one, really being mindful around what you're putting into your body, maybe even more so than normal, because as we get older, as we do different things, as we travel, our bodies handle and process things different. So it's just having that awareness, especially if you're international, of what foods, because you don't want to eat something that's going to take you down and upset your stomach. That whole next day, right? You want to be present and in the moment. So I think it's really being mindful, extra mindful of food you're bringing into your body, getting that exercise, and just taking time for yourself. Like, it's okay. Like, I know it's so important to network. That, as I started off saying, like, relationships are everything, and it's important to network. But if you need to take 5 minutes to go be by yourself, take those 5 minutes to be by yourself, because you're just going to feel completely rejuvenated if you do that. Like, just go up to your room and sit there for a few minutes. It's okay to kind of hold up the white flag and just say, I need to do this for me. I think that's really important. Like some of the little travel tips that I used to do, I kind of learned this from when I traveled to Russia, was to always travel with a doorstop, because you put it on the inside of your door when you go to sleep. Because a lot of rooms when you travel internationally don't have that door latch, but even if they do, right, there's still ways that people can get into your room. So it's traveling with that little doorstop and putting it in your door when you go to sleep.
Oh, interesting. Huh. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, and I think I always have snacks with me. I'm a big snack person, but I love like the skinny dipped dark chocolate almonds and the RX bars. Like, I just, they could be a meal if for whatever reason you can't eat, you land too late, everything's closed. So those are kind of my favorite snacks that I know work for my stomach. And the RX bars are great too. And I always have a ton of water with me.
Staying hydrated. That's probably, and I've not been able. IMEX. You mentioned IMEX, so some of our listeners may not know what IMEX is, and we don't have to go into the whole thing. But it's the largest event in our industry. It has actually some non-meeting aspects, non-meeting planners that come to it too. I think it's a pretty large thing, but it's in Vegas, and you're on your feet for 3 straight days, something like that. So that's what we referenced that earlier in the episode. So I wanted to.
Oh, good call. Looping back to that.
Yeah, tell me what that is. So I have. Before we kind of go and have a little bit more, and kind of go back to a little bit more about Kelly is, Kelly, talk a little bit about your family, because you mentioned your son. If you don't mind, maybe talk a little about your family.
Oh, sure. So I actually have 3 kids. So I'm married. I have a husband. I met him here in Boston. We've been married we're going on 18 years of marriage, marital bliss. My 3 kids. I have a 14-year-old daughter she's just amazing. I'm so proud of her. She came to us in the fall and said, I want to go to high school where kids take school seriously. I want to apply to private schools. And she was accepted to Milton Academy. So we're very excited for that.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. Very, very proud of her. And she's into sports. She does lacrosse and Irish step dance. And my son Cooper is 12. And he does just about every sport you could think of: hockey, baseball, lacrosse, and he does everything. And then my little guy is Crosby, and he is a first grader, and he's very athletic as well. He's learning Gaelic football right now because he refuses to do what his brother and sister do of playing lacrosse. So he does Gaelic football and soccer, and hockey as well. So we have a very active family. That's where I'm so fortunate. I love Good Sports Organization. I don't know if you're familiar with that charity, but they're local to the area, but they are global. But they raise money to help get kids in the game that are less fortunate and don't have the means to do so. So I do a lot of volunteer work for them. But it's just really important to me because my kids are fortunate. They get to do their sports. They get to play in club teams. They get to have the gear. And as parents, my husband and I, we get to go watch. I know there's a lot of people that, as a coach, I coach lacrosse. I coach girls lacrosse. And there's a lot of parents that drop their kids off even for the games. And, yesterday I left the game and I came off the field and there's two of my girls standing there on the street corner waiting for their parents to come pick them up. And my heart just broke for them. These are 13, 14-year-old girls whose parents didn't come to watch their game on a Sunday. So, I just feel very fortunate that I can watch my kids and I can be that Uber XL for them and drive them all over the place. And, all their friends love to come to our house. And that's what I want. I want to have that warm, open house. And I do some affirmation cards every once in a while with my daughter's friends. And there's some that really get a kick out of it. Like, read my affirmation. What's my color? It's a lot of fun. So my kids are very happy. They're very positive kids. They're fun. They love to travel. They love to do, they're experiencers as well, for sure. We love to ski together. I snowboard. I just taught my middle son how to snowboard. But we love to go ski together. It's like our family activity to do.
Wow, you and JP might be long lost sisters when it comes to your recreational activities.
Yeah,
we just snowboarding. What's your bucket list?
Well, so we ski. We took talking about being positive. I was furloughed during the pandemic for a little over a year, and we decided to just go ski. And we went to ski. We were so fortunate that our hotel company just essentially, because nobody was traveling, they welcomed us with very discounted rates. And so we went on what we thought was going to be a 2-week trip to Salt Lake City and essentially stayed out for 3 months. And we skied Salt Lake City, all around Salt Lake City. We went to Jackson Hole, which I would highly recommend. Denver, I'm forgetting one. The place domestically, there are lots of international places. Like my husband, Switzerland is number one on his list to ski. But we have not yet gone to Big Sky. And I hear that that's a must do.
It's amazing. We did that last year. It's incredible. It is.
Okay. We're going to talk offline. We definitely need to catch up because we're not best friends. We have too much in common.
I love it. Yeah. We are gonna do that travel experience episode. It'll be hard to pick. We have so many people that have been in so many different cool places. We have to do 10 of them just to kind of touch on. Because I grew up skiing, but through high school, college with hockey, and then work, it became hard. So JP, I am gonna get on the skis again. I'll be on the baby trail. The bunny trail?
Let's do it.
I'll be doing. So I have a question that's kind of half joking, half serious, about youth sports, because your kids do sports, my son does sports. Are you ever at a game and be like, that team over there needs my help?
I feel like it starts with the coaches, right? And the coaches' attitudes. And when I watch them or listen to them, they don't need my coaching, as I coach the girls lacrosse, but they need to be positive, know how to talk to kids. It's amazing the things that I sit there on the lacrosse field and I'd be like, which coach is yelling like that, right? Because they're across the field screaming. And does that really motivate a kid?
It was an article today. It was an article today in our, two of the three of us are in Massachusetts. There was an article today in the Massachusetts Legislature. They're passing a law about toxicity in youth sports. So I thought, again, I saw that today. I thought that's interesting because we were going to chat.
Oh, I'll have to look that up. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that, unfortunately, in how kids are treated. By coaches, by teammates, even, right? We played a team a couple weeks ago, and the girls were body shaming my team, and it was just awful. Right. But the coach isn't stopping it. Their coach isn't stopping it. So there is a lot of toxic people in sports, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find the link. It was a little short article, but yeah, scary. It's scary stuff. All right, we'll go back to kind of getting to know Kelly a little bit, because we didn't really talk too much about what you did in your previous life. I want to kind of I want you to tell listeners what you used to do, and then I'm gonna kind of throw some quick one-offs on your experience, and then JP, if you want to jump in and ask anything, you can. But so go ahead, tell listeners what you did previous to Wellevate Experiences.
All right. Well, I have been out of school for, I guess I graduated college in 97. I went to ULV for the hotel school. And so I worked in different hotels. Like that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in convention services. I was director of convention services, a couple hotels in Chicago, a couple hotels here in Boston. And then I decided to go to the other side, and I became a corporate events manager, and worked my way up pretty quickly as a leader, where I was leading a team, as a part of a full team of 40 planners and kind of marketing gurus as well. But I led a team of 8 planners. And, I had different experiences I led the incentive team for a while, which we traveled the world, right? It's like incredible travel. It's like the kind of travel where I was like, why couldn't I have done this when I was in my 20s? But now It's like I'm babies at home and I'm gone for 18 days, but I loved it and I made the most of it. Because I felt, for me, right, I feel like balance is all about what you as a person make of it. Mm-hmm. And for me, I was able to balance being a wife, being a mom, and having my dream career. Mm-hmm. So I figured out the balance, and I was happy with what I was doing. So I traveled the world, had lots of different experiences everywhere. And then when I had my third baby, there was a position as the director of corporate events. So I moved into that role, and that was more than working with the board of directors, working with the CEO, the very high level events. So moved into that role, still traveled the world and met incredible people and partners, and created magical experiences and moments, and got to know the executives too, which was that was such kind, warm people at the company I was with. So that was kind of my past. And then we had my boss from a few years ago, Liz Warwick, had retired, and I was like, me, I want that job. I want to be the VP, and they made the decision. I think any of the directors, we could have done that role. Like, we were all ready for it, what we had been kind of groomed for. And, I love them. They would have been great too. I'd love to work for them, but they decided that they wanted to go external. They felt like, we need something fresh. You guys have been here for a long time. We're going to go external. So that's what happened. And, new people come in, they want to make their own changes, their own stamps, differences, to grow the team and what they feel they need. So, the new VP decided that she was going to cut out 2 of the directors' positions. And she said, I'm going to eliminate 2 directors, the roles, and I'm going to create 1 elevated role. And she said, you can both go through that. It's going to be a very rigorous process, and, good luck going through it. It's going to be a battle. And I just kind of thought, I don't know, that doesn't feel right to me. That's not kind of the culture that gets me excited. Like, I'm very competitive, don't get me wrong, but in this situation, and I'd been there for 15 years, and I kept thinking, maybe this executive VP that's saying we want someone fresh, maybe this is my time. Like, I need to take this as a gift and walk away and go figure out what is my next plan. So that's what I did. I pulled my name out and I said, I will take my severance. Thank you for this amazing gift, gift of, being there for 15 years, the incredible people that I had the opportunity to meet, and the experiences that I had, but for this gift of really like sending me to go fly and figure it out. And, honestly, so that was like December of 2021. So like, I made it all through COVID with my job.
Doing all the moves.
Yeah.
And then I was, motivating my team, keeping them going, which was, that to me is my favorite part. I actually found, as I then, was kind of going through my papers from work and everything afterward, like in January, and I found this almost like letter that I wrote to myself like a few years before. And it was like, if you could do something else, what would it be? And I wrote on it, it would be around helping people find positivity and wellness within themselves. And it really hit me, but I was kind of like, well, I don't know what to do with this. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then, I had interviewed with a couple of different companies for VP of event roles. And I wasn't feeling it. Like just the culture, the energy, it wasn't there for me. There's something missing in each of those interviews. And everybody said, like, go enjoy yourself, like do what makes you happy. So, I was like the lady that breakfast, the lady that lunches, I was like very social, networking with everyone. And I was playing a lot more tennis because I loved tennis growing up and I never could go play tennis having the career that I had. So I started playing, and one day I was playing and I was not warm. I didn't feel right. And sure enough, like I ran up for a volley and I tore my hamstring off my hip bone, like collapsed. Geez. And I came to, and everybody's like, you need to go to the doctor. So I was like, it's just a muscle, because, like if you are, the less pain you feel. Like that is a medical scientific fact. So I have a very high tolerance to pain. And I luckily, as I was leaving, because I could drive myself, it was my left leg. So I kind of like sat on my right side in my car. And I was full of adrenaline as this is happening. One of my good friends called me, she was on the first women's U.S. hockey team, and she now works at the Baptist. And I was telling her my situation. She's like, this is what I'm here for. She's with the Celtics. You need to call me. And so she got me in that day to meet with the orthopedic surgeon. And within the next week, I had surgery. But within that, I was bedridden for like 8 weeks. And I like literally set up my bedroom downstairs in my house and I just left the front door open that people could come see me because I wasn't going anywhere moving. But before I went into the hospital, I decided, what can I do for 8 weeks while I'm in bed? So I signed up for an eCornell wellness counseling course, and I took that, and it was amazing. But it was very much, a lot of it was how you talk to employees, how you talk to people, how you make them feel good. How do you get things out of them by listening to what they're saying? Right. So I found it really interesting. And it was an awesome class, but then it was kind of like, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to bring all the things that I loved, which was helping people, making them succeed, watching them succeed, giving them the tools that they need to be their favorite self. I love this wellness piece, right? This mindfulness, this positivity. Those are like my natural, that's like who I am. So if I can bring those two together, and I love this travel industry and I love speaking and, I know how to be a good leader and I know how to be a good team member. So let me bring all these things together and start my own company, and then kind of like see what's going to work and work on what I love and what people are excited about to work with me on and partner. And that's how I got to where I am today.
Wow. It's funny how it all shakes out, isn't it?
Oh, everything happens for a reason. For sure.
I was going to say that you stole those words out of my mouth. I was going to say, when everything does happen for a reason at the end of the day, and when you're doing something that you're passionate about, it's really special to be able to do something that you're passionate about. All right, so I'm going to do some quick hitters.
Can I say one thing?
Absolutely.
Really
you may. No worries.
But I have to say, I am very fortunate to have such a supportive husband, right? Who didn't push me back into the corporate world for a paycheck. He said, you know what? You figure this out, do what's going to make you happy, and let's see what you can do with it. So I'm very supportive, or thankful to him and his support for me.
That's
awesome. That's why it's been 18 years.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, true.
Well, did you? I'm not sure if you shared his name. If you're okay with sharing his name,
Kevin Bishop. Yes.
Bishop. All right.
Nody guy.
And Kevin, we appreciate you letting us borrow Kelly for tonight. We're going to finish up in a minute, but I want to do these. Again. If I don't give you these questions, our friends at FICP will give me grief. Okay. And they're in no particular order. Are you ready? What's the largest event you've ever planned? How many people?
I think it was, I was a part of a team, but this was in Chicago. This was my first job. It was actually, I was a Hyatt catering management trainee. It had to be over 10,000 people, and it was like a big Jewish convention. And I just remember I had like shawarma and everything like all over myself. That is like the biggest event that I was a part of. The biggest one that I planned for myself, we used to do these like double waves of like 600 people, 550 to 600 people, and those were my favorite. Those were great incentives all over the country. So I spent a lot of years doing those.
So, and I got to mention something. This is important to people, for listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with our little world. So those insurance incentive programs, because it's 600, but it's 600 plus guests, so it's really 1,200.
This was like 600 total. So
Right.
300
Gotcha.
winners plus a guest. Yeah.
Understood. But either way, these events, people will go work for certain insurance companies if they're really good ones because of where the incentive trip is. That's how important these incentive programs are for the world of these planners. So I just want to make sure our listeners really appreciate it. Why I'm asking. Okay,
Absolutely.
so where's the furthest event you ever planned?
Well, yeah. So it actually did here on the Sydney Opera House stage, which they only allow one corporate event there a year on the stage. So we were able to secure that pass, if you will. And then we took the group. So we were in Sydney, and then we took the group to the Qualia, it was a buyout. It was incredible. And we, like when you're doing events like what we would do and at that level, and, to your point too, Brian, it's like you really have to have the ultimate event that people then will sell you. We didn't just do anything canned or boxed. It was like walking into an empty room at all times, or an empty space, and being like, all right, what can we do with this? Like, how can we create this into something cool? It was creating our own Great Barrier Reef experience. Like everything was, handpicked, customized, everything that we did. But that was the furthest. And that was my longest trip too. That was 18 days.
I hear Australia is beautiful. I've heard someone talking about it on another podcast I was listening to, and they were talking about a tour they did in Australia, and they said how beautiful the cities are. All right, so my last one here. What is advice you would give to a rookie or a novice meeting planner? What are some things that you would tell that individual as they were getting started?
I would tell, there's a lot I would tell them. I feel like I'm trying to think of like what's on top, right? What is on top? I mean, I would tell them to take themselves or their jobs too seriously and have fun, because I think that if you can just loosen up and enjoy the opportunity that you have, that you're going to be more creative and you're going to meet more people, like really meet more people, right? And create connections with people. So it's, being authentic to you, having fun, taking in every second. Don't rush your career. Don't rush to, be that lead planner. Enjoy learning all the aspects of planning, whether it's being a coordinator first, that you really understand how to use the systems, how to talk to people, that when you are leading a program, or maybe you have to put your foot in and you're the transportation person, maybe you're the activities person, but there's so many people, it's all around communication, and they all kind of grow on each other. And so take in every moment and don't try to rush your career. Like really embrace each opportunity that you have and learn from it, and learn from those around you that are good and you can learn from just by listening, watching, and asking questions. Like ask a lot of questions. Let's see, do I have any list? So I think those, and then I think like as you build in your career, so now you asked me for like a newbie. So this would be mine. Don't jump in trying to like, be the head cheese right away. Like enjoy the moments leading up to it. But then I think when you are a leader or, a team member, it's really understanding your employees and listening. Be a good listener, being there for your team and being there for people cross-functionally too, and for your attendees, because they'll get to know you, right? And they look forward to seeing you every year. And like, I still get notes and texts from some of our attendees. Hey, just checking in. How are you? I missed you on the program this year, whatever it might be. And it's like, this goes back to relationships. And I would say too, that's the other thing I would say. Relationships are real. Your partners, right? Like you, right? JP, Brian, like partners, those are real relationships. Like spend the time to nurture them and make them real.
JP and I don't really like each other. This is just manufactured for the
It's all facade.
podcast.
It really is.
But I mean, eventually there's like with partners, you know what I mean? It's like, return an email, return a call, even if you don't have business, pick up the phone or shoot an email back. Like, thanks so much for reaching out. But this time, like, I don't have anything. And get back to someone. If you send out an RFP and you're not going to go with that hotel, like, be a decent person and let the hotel friends know that you're not going to go there.
Yeah. No, it's all good stuff. And probably one of the hardest, I would probably say it's one of the hardest jobs someone coming out of school or, could do. Is there's so many people, so many stakeholders that you respond to. Before I forget, please give us your website and how people can best find you.
Great. People can find me, probably the best way is through my website. So it's Kelly Bishop, WellevateExperiences.com is my website. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, and that is Kelly M. Bishop. So you can find me there if you just type in my name. I'm also on Instagram as Wellevate_experiences. So I'm kind of new into the social media on Instagram. That I would say is the one challenge about being like a one-woman show is that, doing everything on your own, and you can really, social media needs a lot of time. So I'm working on my Instagram. But please come check me out and start following me. And as I get people following me more, then that's going to motivate and inspire me more to share with people. And then by email, you can also hit me up by email, which is Kelly Bishop at WellevateExperiences.com. So you can find me many ways.
Kelly, thank you so much. I'm so appreciative. I'm going to let JP drive us home. Take us home, JP. Feel free to finish with anything, but you're taking us home.
I don't know how to do that, but I'll just say thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you at IMEX, but I think you provided a lot of really great information for people, at least a starting point. And I think you're a great contact for a lot of corporations or people just to pick positive and do all the happy things and take care of yourself and take care of each other. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. JP, I can't wait to meet you in person because I just want to give you a massive hug because we are like soul sisters. Brian, I can't wait to see you again and to meet the rest of the crew here as well. And I'm just so grateful to you for reaching out to me and bringing me onto this great podcast. I love listening to them. And I just want to, remind everybody just to, be kind, give gratitude, and pick positive. So thank you so much for having me here tonight.
Awesome.
It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Kelly, joining. Hold tight 1 second, okay? I'm gonna end the recording. So hold tight. And before we end this, I just want to thank everyone. Over 6,600 downloads. We have thousands of other likes and follows and subscribes. And then our website is the-3-guys.com. And we're going to have a link to this episode. We're going to have some information on how you can find Kelly. And we're so appreciative of your time. Everyone have an awesome rest of your night. Thank you.